before going to cast your vote. How a bill moving through the Georgia Senate could keep your car from getting booted. And later, live music at a local business raised money for the Athens Area Humane Society. All of this and more, live at 5. Good evening and welcome to Grady Newsource. I'm Sydney Hood. Tonight we begin with Athens-Clarke County holding a special election tomorrow to fill the vacant seat of the Board of Commissioners. Grady Newsource reporter Hannah Nelson visited the Board of Elections office today and brings us more information about what voters can expect for tomorrow.
Hey Sydney, I'm right outside the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections office where they're getting ready for a special elections tomorrow. Now this special election is for the District 2 seat of the Board of Commissioners. This seat was previously held by Mariah Parker until her resignation in August of 2022. Now the two candidates that are running in this election are Melissa Link and Karina Gallagher.
So Karina used to be a former Board of Education member, and she resigned so that she could run for this seat. And then also a former commissioner that used to be in District 3, and because she was drawn out of her district, now she's eligible to run for District 2, Melissa Link.
They also told me that since the end of early voting, there have been nearly 400 early votes that have already been cast. Now tomorrow the polling places will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they include Clark Central High, Oglethorpe Avenue Elementary, Clark Street Elementary, Howard B. Stroud Elementary, and Lay Park. From the Board of Elections office, I'm Hannah Nelson with Grady Newsource.
Athens-Clarke County is not the only one casting votes tomorrow. Barrow County will be voting on East Blost. The East Blost is a referendum allowing a 1% sales tax to be added to purchases in the county. If passed, proceeds from this 1% sales tax will benefit Barrow County schools. If you've ever had your car booted in Georgia, it could become a thing of the past. Grady Newsource reporter Josh Teletsky tells us about a bill progressing in the Senate.
John Cardwell is one of many residents at the Mark apartment complex in Athens to have had their vehicle booted this year. To Cardwell, the booting system at the Mark is preying on residents.
I hear plenty of stories of people around this apartment complex they feel the boot man is watching them. Everyone knows what his car looks like. Even people who don't live in this complex or people who are just moving equipment up and down from their apartment can't even park in the designated area for it because they get booted immediately.
The concerns of Cardwell and other residents could end soon as Senate Bill 247 makes its way through the Georgia legislature. Sponsored by Senator Josh McLaurin, the bill aims to eliminate towing firms from placing boots on improperly parked vehicles in the state. The bill would also fine towing firms $1,000 if they were to attach a boot in the future. For the towing firms, the reason for booting is simple: Georgians are parking improperly. Political analyst Bill Crane says this bill still faces opposition as many booting firms spend a lot of money lobbying.
And one of the reasons they were able to get so deeply entrenched and established was several municipalities wanted that revenue. And you boot a Lamborghini, and you're going to get pretty much whatever you tell the guy in the Lamborghini it's cost to get the boot off.
Crane also says that booting has led to loss of business for many local shops and restaurants in the state, as Georgians have opted to visit other places with secure parking. With the bill pending in the Senate Public Safety Committee, Cardwell is hopeful the bill moves forward.
No college student is going to try and fight back against a boot really aggressively. So this is the easy prime target.
St. Mary's Hospital announced it will be clearing over $14 million of medical debt belonging to 12,000 people. St. Mary's partnered with RIP Medical Debt, a nonprofit that forgives the medical charges. They aim to help people with incomes 4 times lower than the federal poverty level or people whose account is more than 5% of their annual income. Today is the last day to register for the Athens-Clarke County Arrest Restriction event on April 15th. Attendees will have the opportunity to have their criminal records restricted from the public. This can potentially help people have a better chance of finding a job, housing, and to overall have a fresh start. Today marks the 20th anniversary of the United States carrying out its first airstrikes in Iraq. Grady Newsource reporter Olivia Goche has more.
4,700 U.S. and Allied troops died in the war in Iraq that also claimed the lives of 100,000 Iraq civilians. C.J. Cooper is a U.S. veteran who served in the Iraq War out of high school.
So I was there from July of 2005 until February of 2006. I'm only 36, and I was like, man, I feel really old. To say 20 years ago, I remember watching the invasion happen when I was still in high school and didn't put much thought into it. And when I graduated a couple of years later, it just one of those things that kind of happened. I ended up in Iraq, 2 years after the invasion, and we were still doing that for a while.
Cooper says it took him years to seek professional help to work through his mental health struggles.
While I was still on active duty, it was hard to us a lot to talk about our experiences or, if you have issues, to seek professional help. Being 19, 20 years old and just being a very macho mentality, a lot of us didn't want to do that. And it really took a long time. It took me seeing other buddies break for me to realize I needed help.
Located inside of the Tate Center, services like the Student Veterans Resource Center serve young veterans like CJ who may struggle in the aftermath of serving in the military.
22% of our students still serve. We leverage all the services across campus and in the local community to help these veterans, whether it be financial, whether it be healthcare, whether it be academic, just anything they need.
Olivia Goche, Grady Newsource.
Over the weekend, the Oconee County Sheriff's Department hosted a fashion show fundraiser at Academia Brewing Company. The event raised money and awareness for SANE, a nonprofit seeking to help victims of sexual assault.
SANE allows us resources to do what we call forensic interviews. Then the exam itself, if there's some sort of physical trauma or anything like that, for the victim, SANE also has the nurses that does those physical exams.
Sheriff Hale took to the runway as a model to support the event. He alone raised more than $4,000. The event altogether raised more than $90,000, exceeding the original goal of $40,000.
So it's a little bit surreal. I think it's still probably sinking in. We're a very small organization. We stayed pretty conservative in our planning, so I'm very hopeful that next year maybe we can reach that number again or maybe go a little bit bigger.
The money raised will go towards meeting the needs of victims through direct services from forensic interviews to medical examinations to medicine. SANE provides support to victims of sexual assault spanning across 13 counties in Northeast Georgia. They plan to make this fundraiser a yearly event with eyes already looking ahead to next year. Athens is known for its live music and loud concerts, but most events are not dog-friendly. Grady Newsource reporter Clay Britton tells us about the first ever Rock Out With Your Dog Out benefit concert for the Athens Area Humane Society.
Saturday was the first ever Rock Out With Your Dog Out event at Clark's Collection in downtown Athens. Featured performances included Wim Tapley, Country Clover, Sunday Driver, 1050 Band, and Peach Street Band. The event was organized by students of the Terry College of Business's Lessons in Leadership program. They have teamed up with Athens Area Humane Society to raise money for the nonprofit.
Because that money goes to supporting our mission, and our mission being promoting the welfare of homeless pets and celebrating the special bond between people and pets.
Specifically, the money will be used for basic care of the animals at the shelter, like food and water, and transportation to and from shelters and foster homes. The money raised will also go towards improvements at the Humane Society, like the Betty White Bark Park. The park has a dog obstacle course to help reduce stress, gain confidence and trust to help them get adopted quicker. Around $2,500 were raised on Saturday. For musician Wim Tapley, the event was more than just another concert he played at. Raising money and rescuing animals is something he is used to back in his home in Virginia.
I have a dog at home in Virginia. She's rescued. My mom rescued her. My mom actually rescues horses and stuff. So we have a big animal-loving family.
Although not many dogs showed up on Saturday, the ones that did had a good time listening to music with their masters. The second Rock Out With Your Dog Out concert will be on Sunday, April 2nd at Paloma Park from 2 to 4:30 p.m. With Grady Newsource, I'm Clay Britton.
Coming up, how One North Georgia County is celebrating food, farmers, and fiber for Agriculture Awareness Week, and how you can join in on all the fun.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna. Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back. This week is Georgia Agriculture Awareness Week. The celebration highlights the people, the products that make up Georgia agriculture. Grady Newsource reporter Connor Hendricks was at the library in Nicholson this morning as the Farm Bureau stopped by to teach children about strawberries.
Because you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people who don't really know where their food comes from and things like that.
Lexi Love with the Jackson County Farm Bureau stopped by the Howard Swindle Public Library in Nicholson this morning for a reading and to let kids paint strawberry-shaped rocks in the library's garden.
Whenever you grow strawberries, people have a problem with like birds getting them and other pests and stuff like that. And when that bird comes down to get the strawberry, this time they'll pick up a rock, so they'll leave it alone after that.
Librarian Rhonda O'Keefe says the books the Farm Bureau brings will be donated to the library. The number of farms in Jackson County fell 5%, and the average size of farms in Jackson County fell 4%, according to the most recent data from the USDA. As the county becomes more developed, O'Keefe says it's still important to teach people about agriculture and the different forms it can take.
Changing, but ag awareness, you have to realize, like a lot of different terms, that when you think ag, you usually think the big farms and whatever, but it's also those that want to compost, that want to just keep a garden going. It doesn't always mean it has to be rural and ag.
Love says if you want to support Georgia agriculture, look for the Georgia Grown sticker when you shop. Every day this week, libraries in Jackson County will hold an after-school reading to teach kids all about strawberries. In Nicholson, Connor Hendricks, Grady Newsource.
A local Athens business took to social media and GoFundMe to ask for the community's help to keep Athens, Athens. Grady Newsource reporter Juliana Washburn went to the business today to look into exactly what this means.
We really need your help.
A local Athens grocery store posted a GoFundMe page to raise $150,000. The money will help the Daily Groceries Co-op stay in business. Shelley Ruth, the general manager at the store, says they need to move to a bigger building down the street to bring in more local products. But they can't do it alone.
This will be a great move, but it will take the entire village to pull this off.
Community members have left comments on social media in support of the cause. They don't want to see another local business close down.
It makes me emotional, just the feeling of love.
Ruth says the cost of running a small independent business is high, which is why some local businesses in Athens have closed down recently. I'm here on Prince Ave, near where a few local businesses have closed down over the past year. But Daily Grocery Co-op is hoping to be around for another 30 years. And they say that they need community support in order to make this happen. Zach Tolano is one loyal customer of the shop.
If the Daily Grocery wasn't on Prince, I'm not really sure what I would do.
Tolano says he knows the staff and store have his back, and while he's sad to say goodbye to the building he is used to.
I know as a result they're going to be working with more farmers, more local business, which is very exciting because I love supporting local business.
Ruth says small, unique businesses are what keeps Athens, Athens. She thinks small shops bring people together in a way that you don't see in bigger businesses. Reporting in Athens for Grady Newsource, I'm Juliana Washburn.
A 5K race with an important cause behind it had runners in Jackson County braving the cold over the weekend. Grady Newsource reporter Maddie McCaffrey has more.
Good job, ladies. You got it. There you go. I've worked with Peace Place for about 10 or 15 years, always doing a 5K for them.
Over the weekend, runners in Jackson County took part in the annual Peace Place 5K, a nonprofit organization in Northeast Georgia that helps women and children who are victims of domestic violence.
Whenever the women and their children come to us, what we have is advocates that are going to be working with these women and their children no matter what their circumstances.
Peace Place board members and staff utilize their unique backgrounds to help survivors.
I have a family history of domestic violence, so coming on this board was a godsend.
I saw the effects of it on the students that had lived in domestic violence.
1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in their life. The Peace Place helps victims by providing shelter, legal advice, and mental health counseling.
Statistics say that a woman will return 7 times to her abuser before she finally leaves for good or ends up dead. So we try to do everything we can to prevent that. And there are lots of practical steps that are required to be able to start over again.
Tracy shared a story about a woman who left an abusive marriage, came to the Peace Place with her 2 children, and while she was in their transitional housing, she completed her master's degree.
She is now working as a counselor in a mental health facility, has her place. Her kids are doing great. She's doing great. Just really a true success story.
65% of the Peace Place's funding is from grants, and the rest are from donations. So events like their 5K help them meet the needs of the women and children they serve. Maddie McCaffrey, Grady Newsource.
After the break, I'll be back with the 5-day forecast and how to prepare for the weather throughout the rest of the week.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to Grady Newsource. I'm Allie Pigler with your weather. Today we had a high of 56 and a low of 32. So I hope everyone remembered their jacket because it's going to be very cold this evening. And if you forgot yours today, you may want to go home and grab it if you have plans this afternoon. Temperatures will get down to freezing tonight. So you want to be aware of your plants and make sure that you cover those as well. Then as we move into Tuesday, there will be a high of 62 and a low of 40. And then as we go throughout the rest of the week until Wednesday, there will be a high of 68 and a low of 40, and it'll be a partly cloudy day. And then as we move into Thursday, it will be partly sunny with a high of 80 and a low of 58. There will be another temperature increase on Friday to round out the 5-day forecast with a high of 83 and a low of 62. There will be a chance of rain that increases to a 60% chance of showers on Friday night. Today is the first day of spring, and now we're going to go to Rachel for sports.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. Alright, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Welcome back. I'm Rachel Branding with your Grady Newsource Sports. Multiple University of Georgia teams faced tough competition this weekend. The UGA women's swimming and diving team closed out their season on Saturday, placing 16th overall at the NCAA Women's Swimming and Diving Championships. And the UGA baseball team dropped 3 straight games in their series against the University of South Carolina. It was their SEC home opener, and it showed off their new uniforms for the start of the conference season. And just this morning, the NCAA announced that the UGA Gym Dogs have earned their spot to fight for a championship. They'll be heading to Denver, Colorado at the end of this month for the NCAA Denver Regional. And in March Madness news, the UGA women's basketball team made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament, but fell to Iowa 66-74 last night. But earlier today, I spoke with James Banks, a former UGA basketball player who helped take the Dogs to the Final Four, to discuss his thoughts on the tournament so far.
It's been a tremendous amount of upsets.
but you just have so much parity now. The teams that are really playing well are the seasoned teams that, like we were, who have juniors and seniors on their team now. So they're tough to beat. It's really fun to watch these teams play now because you don't know who's going to win. You know who is a favorite, but you got to go out there and play. It's just neat seeing those teams play a lot like we play and just really play for one another and play just the right way and just play really selfless basketball. It's really been March Madness at a whole different level this year, and I've enjoyed each game that I had the opportunity to watch. But I'm getting goosebumps all over again just talking about it. I can't wait for the games to come back on Wednesday.
And he told me that he's picking Alabama to take it all home, but that he'd like to see Gonzaga do well as well. And now, looking ahead, the Atlanta Braves are currently in their spring training. They'll begin their regular season on March 30th in Washington, D.C. And tonight and tomorrow, UGA men's golf is teeing off in the Linger Longer Invitational in Eatonton, Georgia. And the baseball team is playing at Georgia State tomorrow at 6. And that's all for sports. But after the break, how Clark County schools are celebrating Youth Art Month.
We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Wait, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
Kevin, I need that back.
No.
Kevin!
The Athens-Clarke County School District held its annual Youth Art Month expedition. It's all to celebrate National Youth Art Month. Grady Newsource reporter Destiny Johnson has more.
This is the first time since the pandemic that the Clarke County School District has held its annual Youth Art Month exhibition. All 14 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and 2 high schools that have art programs participate in this exhibition. The exhibit is held in March to celebrate Youth Art Month. Youth Art Month encourages students to creatively express themselves. Dan Smith, the Fine Arts, Health, and PE Curriculum Coordinator for the Clarke County School District, says that one of the last things the district did before COVID was have an exhibition, but no one was able to view it because everything was shut down.
I think one of the last things we did before COVID interrupted us was hang up an exhibition that nobody saw because everything got closed down. That was like the last thing that happened right before spring break. So it's definitely good to have an in-person event and invite people back to see all the things that the teachers and students have worked on.
The Clarke County School District's annual Youth Art Month exhibition gives students across the district the opportunity to showcase their talents and creativity. This year, the students' work ranges from paintings, drawings, printmaking, and photography. Michael Yelton, one of the attendees of the exhibition, was intrigued by one art painting in particular.
It's like a narrative comic by, I think, a girl in 9th grade. And it caught my eye specifically because I do comics and animation and stuff like that. And I just remember being that age and just being really excited and just really kind of this burgeoning interest.
Dan Smith says that the arts community is thankful for the support they have received from the school district, parents, and the art community.
And we're just thankful for the support we have from the school district, from parents, from the whole community for the arts. We have momentum now. I think we're back to being in person to do everything. So that's a great thing, and just continue supporting the arts.
From Grady Newsource, I'm Destiny Johnson.
Thank you for joining us here on Grady Newsource. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday for more Northeast Georgia news. Good night.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. Alright, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight, both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back, because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't, because are we on the air? We are. All right, we're on the air, and without further ado, Tom, our engineer.
Great job. It was, it was one of those shows where you look at the rundown and go, "There's a lot of stuff in there." And good job on timing that, and good job on everybody getting their stuff in. The only thing that I have is package audio is kind of getting left to the wayside again. Where you're filming your stand-up and then you come in here in the vocal booth. The difference in those two is pretty dramatic, as you've seen and heard. So plan a little extra time to tweak that audio, because it does matter. Sophia rocks it on the audio. She does a good job, but there's always that spike that she has to catch you guys in. So yeah, great job.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Everything was like labeled nice, and like everyone put like their graphics in order and like where it should be in the script, so that's super helpful. So thank you guys for doing that. Yeah, we just had like a couple just like communication issues on our end. TriCaster was being a little finicky with us today, so that opening was a little wonky, but we still stayed on time, which is really good, and everything else went really smooth. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, good job. It was a very smooth show with the producer who produced for the first time. And tell us what you thought of the experience now that you can relax.
Oh boy. Well, I've never produced before, and I'm not going to lie, I was dreading today. I was like, oh, this could either go really good or really bad. And in the morning, like when I was putting everything in rundown, I was like, oh, we're going to be under. That's really good. So I was stressing, trying to figure out how to make sure we went on time. And then the entire time I was in there, I was like, oh no, we're going to be over. And I was trying to make sure like I didn't need to float anything. And I had a communication issue on my part from the tees from Allie to Rachel. That was on me. I kind of blacked out when Tom asked me how he wanted it to be done. And then just went and did the opposite thing of what I just told him to do. So yeah, learn from me. Don't do that. But other than that, the best piece of advice I can give you is just to like be creative when you're a producer, because you're probably going to have to try to figure out at some points like how to add content and just like make sure it runs smoothly. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job. You rustled up some quite memorable contacts for Olivia G to play with. That guy was just quite amazing, the veteran on the 20th anniversary of the Iraq War. And so that really added to our show, that you not only produced, but you came up with helpful sources that you were able to rustle up your own family to help us out, because we were really hurting today with content. A lot of several stories that we were counting on didn't look good, so we had to keep pivoting, and somehow it worked out because it was a team effort. Everybody gave it their all, and so we were able to put in more content that we actually needed, but we were able to still fit everything. Nobody's package did not air today, right? Everybody's package aired. That was wonderful. Yeah. So that was good. And what I was going to say with these teases, usually if you have Allie doing the weather, have her tease the weather, the sports. If you want her to just do sports and Rachel to tease. Sorry, if you want Allie to do weather and Rachel to tease her sports, then you need to have Allie tossing to Rachel, tossing to the break. So I didn't know if you guys had talked about that before, to have Allie toss to Rachel so that Rachel can toss to sports. And then just an idea of how you can avoid that confusion. I didn't know why you were making that in the last moment, whether you changed your mind. I didn't quite understand what happened, but that's not a biggie. But it's like a chain reaction, right? So, yeah, and I'm sorry we had to. Wonderful presence, though on certain times you were hiding today's temperature, but I could tell you practiced, because you were very, and I'm glad you said you didn't read. But we all learn from it. So that would be my advice when a producer tells you to rap or to change something and you're in mid-sentence, finish it. Because it was, odd for you to be standing and showing us your wonderful spring graphic and not finish, just kind of say something more about it and then toss. But these are small things, and that's why we do the show, so we make those little mistakes that always feel worse. Don't worry, it always feels worse than it actually looked on air. So both of you, delivery excellent. I really liked it. Very relaxed, very personable. Both of you worked hard to diversify your content, to make it more interesting with sound bites. We were not able to play yours because we asked you to keep it to 1 minute because we wanted to fit everybody's work, and you were a good sport to do that. I had several people today where I had to ask them about a few extra questions to get into a nut graph kind of thing, because like with Connor and with Jules, I had to understand a little bit more why this was so important. That's what we were missing. Why is this important? How does it relate to your story? And you were able, I noticed you were able to explain it and connect that data that you had with the essence of the story, and I think it worked out well. But I had to work with you a little bit more on that, and that's okay. As I say, everybody has to learn one thing from me, otherwise I'm disappointed if I'm not helpful. Always get your scripts approved before going to shoot a look live, because I might find something and then you come back and you say, oh my goodness, I called somebody by a different name, and then we have to find a way to, but that worked without the name actually. But and then, you know, I thought her script was okay, but I looked at it after she had recorded it, and it would have been too late for her to go back and re-record it. So always remember, nothing goes on air, even if it's a look live, without, even if you go to do a live, I still need to see your notes so that I can help you. And just, as I told Hannah, I would ask her to copy edit me if I was doing a live shot. I don't want to be there without somebody looking over my shoulder and checking my facts. I feel better about it. Delivery, Hannah, I thought that the sun was a little bit, kind of half of your face was in the shade. So what I would do is, how could we solve this? Maybe ask somebody who's kind enough to just stand in the shot where you will be standing and take a look and see how that person looks. Anybody else has other ideas as to how you can check your stand up and make sure that your face is fully lit up? Usually you have to be sort of blinded by the sun, that then you know that you're fully. I very much was, and I didn't know if you could see my eyes. Yeah, but there was some kind of a shadow, and I would have, at one point in the end, you could have re-recorded because you were halting, and at the end you were not sure of yourself. So what you can do, what I used to do also, look at yourself, just look at the entire thing. If you watch it before you leave, you will see that you could do better with where you stand. I like it. It was very relevant where you were standing, but you would also see that your delivery was halting. It wasn't very convincing at the end. So my suggestion would be to look at your recording and also to practice several times before, and also keep it very simple. And if you keep it very simple and conversational, your delivery will be good on camera because you're ad-libbing. You can't use big words and a lot of information. So that would be my advice to all of you when you're doing a look live, when you're doing a live, and when you're doing broadcast or social media. Keep it simple, conversational, spare people a lot of facts unless you have visuals for them and it's part of your donut, or I think it helps your delivery and it helps the viewers also connect with you.
I know what you did not see is the over 40 attempts I tried to do for the look live. because I think a lot of it was I was excited about trying something new, and I kind of jumped in too deep, which is part of why I did not send my script in, because I thought, oh, it's a look live, I'm going to ad-lib anyway. I just wasn't thinking, oh, yeah, this needs to be, fact-checked too. It just completely escaped my mind, and it was very embarrassing.
Yeah, it's basically for you as well, for your own peace of mind. As I mentioned, I don't want to, I've done breaking news where nobody can fact check me, and because the facts are just coming out of what I've read. And another piece of advice, when you're doing breaking news, you'll be in real situations as reporters. I'm a news junkie and a news nerd. I read and I remember things for my stories that I know I could have some breaking news. And that really helps me somehow when you're under that pressure and you're doing breaking news and you're there somewhere. Somehow you always recall a fact from that back of your mind where you stored it. So I highly recommend reading a lot. That's why I torture you guys every day. What is the top story? I want you to be readers. I want you to be news nerds, to come informed. And the reason being, the more you read in, the more facts you will retain, which will help you. You never know when you will be in a situation where they will help you. And trust me, that's the only way I've been successful for 23 years to handle all sorts of situations. It's by really being very well informed and reading a lot of background information and storing facts that somehow always serve you well. They come up when you need them. I guess it's the pressure of being there, the camera's on you, and you have to be your best advocate. Nobody can help you. So just a little piece of just sharing my experience for what it's worth.
Try, I know you told someone not to look at their notebook as much, and I kind of tried not to do that, and not to look at your notes as much. And when I was doing it, I was not trying to look at my notes so much. When looking back, I realized it might have been beneficial if I did it a few more times, so I didn't sound too.
Yeah, and so that's why I recommend not to have a full script, because you don't have the luxury, you're on camera, to really find your way into the whole script, but just have bullet points and practice the bullet points. And I don't know about you, but I have a visual memory. So when I practice, I visually remember where that bullet point that I need to glance at is. So I have this visual thing, and I don't know if people are different, but I memorize things visually. So I can quickly go down, and just one glance reminds me what I have to say next. So those are little things that worked for me that I'm just sharing for what they're worth with you guys, and just practicing a little bit more with those bullet points, because you don't have time to read a script when you're doing live or look live. Also, one more thing, Hannah, we have to be absolutely transparent that this is not a live shot, so you don't thank the anchor on camera if you're doing a look live. If you're doing a live, of course, but don't thank, because it's a little disingenuous. It's borderline making the viewers think that this was live when it wasn't. So I'm big on being transparent because we need to win back the trust in the media, and we need to be very careful about any situation in which we could be misleading people and thinking that this is live when it's not. So that's why we call it a look live, not a live. Any other questions about your first look live? All right. I saw a lot of jump cuts in certain packages, so avoid that TikTok look, where try to have transitions. I saw, I really liked Josh's package. However, you were showing a sign when you were introducing Bill Crane, what he says, and then it's a parking sign. And I don't think Mr. Crane would have been very happy to see himself as a sign And it went on for a long time. I mean, that sign was on for a long time in case anybody didn't read it, that he would be booted. That was Mr. Crane. So, and also, I didn't realize it was an audio shot. And so there was no Mr. Crane photo. There was no lower third. It was just, again, it was a boot. So in case you didn't think that Mr. Crane was a boot sign, he is a booted car. You know, he was a tire with a boot on. So think about, you know, you need to have, I mean, you had him on camera in interviews, so you could have clipped a photo from one of his previous interviews or asked him to give you a headshot. So that's really important. I liked how Destiny you had the introduction to the soundbite, to the guy you were talking to, him doing something on his computer. That was very good. You didn't show him as a sign, or that's very good. So I like the fact that you didn't do that. And with you, Destiny, I when I watched it, it made more sense. But again, I would have had more close-ups of those wonderful paintings, and specifically asked that guy the visitor, you know, which painting, for example, really touched his heart or something moved him and why, and have a close-up while he's talking about that specific painting. So when you do events and art, you need to have a lot of close-ups, as I mentioned to you this morning, and you need to start with something memorable. Like him, you could have started, we didn't have enough time for me to turn your script upside down like I do with many people, but start with him and then tell us who he is, where he is, what he's experiencing, why it's important, go to the soundbite with the organizer, and so it becomes a broadcast piece because you start with the news, you start with a highlight from not telling us everything that happened. I hope I'm making sense, but and I like the focus on the fact that this was the first one after COVID. That was important. And yeah, so that's what I would suggest. And if you want to talk when I come back, I would love for us to look at the package again and look at it. Again, there was some jump cuts also, but I really like that you had that guy at his computer, and as Jennifer told us, you could have them walking, doing something they do every day. It would have been interesting for him to be walking in the gallery itself and looking at paintings, and so that would have been an even better way of introducing him. So these are just ideas to take you to the next level. And yeah, so let me see if I can help with anything else. Again, reminder that solution stories, I need to have pitches. I didn't receive pitches from who was due today. I have a note. Colin and somebody else are due. Yeah, I need them today. If I don't have them today, I might not be able to respond. I'm traveling all day on a plane with no Wi-Fi, so that's why I needed them today. Because when I don't have them, then, like with Maddie, I wish I had that because I could have helped her really create a solution story. And it worked as a nice general assignment story that was interesting, but it didn't become a solution story because we didn't see how the solution works. We saw people who are helping raise money, which was wonderful, but that's more of an event story, which is good, but it's not what we called for. There was some jump cuts, a lot of jump cuts within sound bites. So be very careful with the TikTok thing. And usually avoid interviewing two people on camera because you had no B-roll in between them, and there was a jump cut, and it was awkward because you had a sentence, of yours, a track, while you were continued to be on them. So a little bit of B-roll could have helped you. And you had some quite nice B-roll from people there. You could have done just an idea of how to handle this, because sometimes people want to be together. So if that was the case, you could have put some B-roll in between the two sound bites from these people standing next to each other. Otherwise, it looks awkward. That would be my suggestion, to make it look a little, to have a more natural transition between those two. Yeah, I think we talked about the uneven audio, and all in all, guys, great job. I thought packages and Clay, your package was very good. I think I had one suggestion. Yeah, the interview, you could have, instead of having people sitting, you could have her among the doggies and inside, if that was possible. Just a suggestion. Same with Josh. He could have had that guy next to his, in the parking, next to cars, next to your favorite sign. About, yeah, that. Just think about doing interviews in the environment where the people are working, where the story is happening. It'll add a lot to, I know I'm boring and we're tired. Yes, yes. All right, guys, so there are a few minutes. I talk too much. I want to give you two minutes. Our Emmy, our assignment editor, our digital editor, anybody wants to take a few minutes?
Like I really don't have a lot of negative things to say. I think
No,
that was,
we don't want negative
no,
things.
there's like, it was, I'll just say, like, everyone did a good job. It made my job easy. I wasn't really having to hound people. Yeah, everyone was on top of everything they needed to be, and it was a pretty chill day for me, and that's because everyone else was working really hard, and so that was awesome.
I will just say, I apparently haven't talked all day. I will say, just hyperlinking your sources, that's just a really big thing.
Thank you for making that point. Yeah.
That's about all I have.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I'm not being negative. Please take my thoughts with a lot of care and love. It's sharing my experience and trying to help you grow, because that is my goal. If you knew everything and I didn't have anything to contribute, then I'm disappointed. I think you're wasting your time with me if I didn't have something to help you with. So take it in that spirit, that it's meant to help you. And guys, I will see you next week. So Wednesday, Tom, you're in great hands. Good luck, and I will look at the show when I get back and tell you about Romania and how things went. We'll see. I'll be talking about solutions journalism as one of my presentations. So anyway, so guys, thank you.